Imagine walking into your meticulously planned garden. You're looking at your prized tomato plant, and you realize it's being slowly strangled by what looks like glowing yellow silly string covered in delicate fairy lights.
Oh, man.
Right, like you haven't planted this, you definitely haven't watered it, but it is thriving, and your tomatoes are dying.
It is it's a profoundly unsettling visual. It completely violates that basic contract we think we have with our environments, that we control what grows there.
Exactly.
But nature, especially the parasitic side of it, rarely respects those boundaries.
Yeah, and that exact counterintuitive visual is really the focal point for today's deep dive. We've got this source material today that reads less like a casual gardening blog and more like a dispatch from a biological war zone.
It really does.
It's this journal entry from a gardener named Ang, and it's titled Notes on Gardening Part 933, Dodder, the Mystery Parasitic Plant in My Garden. It's about an organism that has earned this incredibly ominous nickname, the Golden Strangler.
Which is such an apt name. Because what Ang's journal offers us isn't just some localized story about pulling a weed.
No, not at all.
It's a highly detailed, first-hand account of structural exploitation. We're going to unpack how hidden, highly specialized organisms silently infiltrate the systems we believe are totally secure.
And what makes Ang's account so compelling right from the jump is the initial reaction. So Ang is out in the garden doing routine checks and notices this sudden, vigorous burst of new growth.
Right.
And because Ang had scattered various seeds earlier in the season, the initial emotion isn't panic, it's actually satisfaction.
Which is fascinating.
Yeah, Ang looks at this new plant material and assumes it's the intended outcome. You see growth, you assume you did a good job.
And that is exactly how deception operates on a systemic level. The parasite hides behind the host's own expectation of success.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
When you're managing any complex project, whether it's a garden, a business, or like a piece of software, you are conditioned to list your growth and expansion as positive indicators.
You want to see things expanding.
Exactly. You see an increase in activity, and your cognitive bias categorizes it as the fruit of your labor. The golden strangler doesn't need to look threatening right away. It just needs to look like progress.
It just rides the coattails of your own optimism.
Yeah.
But as Ang takes a closer look, that optimism completely shatters.
Yeah, the realization hits.
The narrative abruptly shifts from a happy discovery to examining the physical evidence of an active invader. And the visuals described in the journal are striking. We're talking about these thin, thread-like stems winding incredibly tightly around the host plants.
Almost suffocating them.
Right, and they're completely adorned with these dense, globular clusters of small, white, bell-shaped flowers.
It's highly ornamental. I mean, almost impossibly delicate.
Yes, it presents itself beautifully. You've got these pristine white bellflowers completely masking a purely destructive nature. My immediate thought was like a Trojan horse.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it gets inside your defenses by looking like a gift.
Well, see, a Trojan horse implies a one-time trick, though. Someone wheels the horse through the gates, the soldiers jump out, and boom, the deception is over.
Oh, I see what you mean. This is different.
Right. What Ang is describing with the Dodder is more like a continuous structural tap. It's a wiretap masquerading as crown molding.
Wow. A wiretap masquerading as crown molding.
Yeah, the beauty isn't the trick to get inside. The beauty is the camouflage it wears while it's actively draining the system. And Ang's journal notes this critical visual anomaly that gives the game away.
The color, right.
Exactly. These winding stems are entirely leafless, and they are a pale yellowish color.
Which means it has completely opted out of the defining biological function of a plant.
Yeah.
The lack of green means a total absence of chlorophyll.
Right.
It has just abandoned photosynthesis entirely.
And that is the biological smoking gun. A plant without chlorophyll is a plant that has literally no mechanism to produce its own energy.
It can't feed itself.
Nope. It cannot convert sunlight into carbohydrates. It has functionally abandoned the fundamental metabolic engine that drives, almost all plant life on Earth.
Okay, I have to challenge the evolutionary logic here, though.
Go for it.
If it is 100% reliant on the host plant for every single drop of water and every single carbohydrate, isn't that just a terrible long-term survival strategy?
How so?
Well, if it aggressively drains the host dies. And if the host dies, the golden strangler dies. It seems completely counterproductive to eliminate your own ability to feed yourself.
I mean, it sounds counterproductive if we view it through the lens of individual independence. But evolutionary biology optimizes for metabolic efficiency. not independence.
Okay, explain that.
Let's look at the infrastructure cost of being a normal plant. Growing leaves requires a massive expenditure of water, carbon, and complex minerals.
Right.
You have to build the physical structure, maintain it, angle it toward the sun, and repair it when insects attack it. That is a massive energy-intensive factory.
Right, you basically have to run the whole supply chain yourself.
Exactly. So the Dodder's evolutionary gamble is, why build the factory when you can just steal the end product?
Oh, wow.
By abandoning leaves and a root system, it sheds all that metabolic overhead. Every ounce of its energy goes exclusively into reproduction and finding the next host.
But what about killing the host?
Well, as for killing the host, it certainly can do that, but the true parasitic equilibrium is to just stunt the host.
Oh, keep it alive but weak.
Exactly. The Dodder wants to keep the host alive just enough to function as a permanent, involuntary biological pump.
That is wild.
It forces us to reconsider what efficiency looks like. Sometimes peak evolutionary efficiency is total dependence.
That makes the lack of leaves less of a vulnerability and more of like a ruthless optimization.
Exactly.
But knowing that it drains the host brings us to the actual mechanics of the crime. How does a leafless, rootless yellow thread actually breach a thick, healthy plant stem?
Right, because it's not just squeezing it.
Yeah, it's not just squeezing the plant like a boa constrictor until the host gives up its lunch.
Not at all. Mechanical pressure from winding around the host is just the setup. The actual extraction requires a physical breach.
Right. And Ang's journal details the weapon of choice here. These specialized biological structures called haustoria.
Yes, haustoria.
These haustorias actively penetrate the host's stems and tissues to extract the water and nutrients. When I read that, the image of microscopic vampire fangs immediately came to mind.
I get that, but fangs imply a puncture, like a needle.
Right.
But plant cell walls are incredibly tough. They are fortified with cellulose and lignin. A soft yellow stem can't just stab its way through that kind of biological armor simply by squeezing.
So how does it actually get through? I mean, does it dissolve it?
Precisely. The haustoria operate more like a highly advanced, localized chemical breach.
Chemical warfare.
Basically, yeah. Once the Dodder winds tightly around a suitable host stem, the physical pressure triggers the haustoria to develop. And then these structures begin to secrete highly specialized enzymes like pectinases and cellulases that literally dissolve the cementing layers between the host cells.
It's dissolving the mortar between the bricks of the cell wall.
Exactly. It chemically melts a microscopic pathway, allowing the haustorial tissue to grow into the host plant.
That is terrifying.
It navigates down through the outer epidermis, completely bypassing the plant's external defenses, and it doesn't stop until it locates the host's internal plumbing.
The vascular system.
Right. The xylem, which carries water, and the phloem, which carries the sugars.
It's like a hacker deliberately bypassing a company's external firewall to plug directly into the secure data servers.
That is the perfect systems analogy, honestly. Once the haustoria lock onto the xylem and phloem, the systems are fused.
They're completely connected.
Yeah, and then the Dodder alters the osmotic pressure, essentially creating a stronger vacuum than the host plant. This forces the water and carbohydrates to flow upward into the parasite instead of out to the host's own leaves and fruits.
A completely silent cellular level hijacking.
Utterly silent.
So the host plant is still pulling water from the soil. It's still photosynthesizing in the sun, doing all the hard labor, but the literal fruits of that labor are being diverted into this glowing yellow wiretap.
Exactly. All the effort, none of the reward.
Which brings us to arguably the most unsettling part of Ang's journal. Because we understand the biology now, we understand the haustoria. But a leafless, rootless parasite doesn't just magically sprout from an isolated suburban garden bed.
Right.
It had to cross the perimeter somehow.
It's a localized breach that hints at a much larger systemic vulnerability. The seeds of the golden strangler didn't spontaneously generate in Ang's yard.
And Ang pieces this together. The journal points out that this mysterious Dodder most likely hitchhiked. Yeah, it was brought into the garden on the stems or in the soil of other plants bought from commercial nurseries or garden centers.
Which is the reality of our highly interconnected ecological networks today.
It really reframes how you look at a simple weekend errand. Like, you go to a massive garden center, you pick out a perfectly healthy-looking petunia or a batch of hostas.
Sure.
You are intending to bring life and color to your yard. But because of how efficient this parasite is, because it lacks leaves, because its threads can be incredibly thin before it blooms, you are actively paying to import a biological hacker directly into your sanctuary.
It highlights a massive blind spot in how we think about closed systems.
What do you mean?
Well, we tend to view our homes, our local networks, or our gardens as isolated environments that we control. We put up a fence, we lock the door, and we assume we dictate what enters. But those systems are entirely porous.
Because the plants at that local nursery didn't originate there either.
Exactly. Think about the sheer scale of the global agricultural supply chain. A local nursery is just the final distribution node.
Just the storefront.
Right. Those seedlings were likely cultivated in massive regional greenhouses, packed densely together with millions of other plants. They might have been shipped across multiple state lines on packed transport trucks.
So everything is mingling.
Yes. Seeds, spores, and microscopic plant matter are moving at an unprecedented volume and speed across the globe.
And a system built for that kind of speed and volume is inherently vulnerable.
Vulnerable because it is hyper-optimized. When human commerce creates massive, dense monocultures, I mean millions of the same plant packed together for easy transport, it creates the absolute perfect feeding ground for a highly specialized exploiter like the Dodder.
It's a buffet.
A moving buffet. The golden strangler thrives because it leverages the massive invisible supply chain that we built. You aren't just planting a petunia, you are integrating your isolated backyard into a sprawling global network of biological trade. And sometimes you download a virus.
It makes you look at a garden center with a whole new level of suspicion. Like every pot could be a vector. But this is the exact moment in Eng's journal that is truly remarkable to me. Confronted with a highly evolved hitchhiking parasite that is actively dissolving the cell walls of the garden, I mean, the instinct for almost anyone would be total scorched earth eradication.
Oh, 100%.
Rip it out, burn it, spray it with whatever you have in the garage.
The standard pest control mindset. It's driven entirely by fear of loss. You see a threat to the system, and your only objective is to terminate the threat as quickly as possible.
But Eng doesn't do that.
No, which is brilliant.
Eng writes that, yes, the Dodder has to be removed to save the surrounding plants. But Eng makes a deliberate choice to keep one single specimen of the parasite alive in the garden, specifically for observation and experimentation.
That pivot right there is the essence of the scientific method.
It is. Instead of just reacting emotionally to a garden invasion, Eng steps back, removes the panic, and looks at the invader as a source of information. It's totally a mad scientist mindset. Keep your friends close and your parasitic vines closer.
It is a profound shift in perspective. When you simply eradicate something you don't understand, you remain ignorant of how your system was breached in the first place.
You never learn how they got in.
Exactly. You treat the symptom, but you learn nothing about the vulnerability. By choosing to isolate and observe that one specimen of the golden strangler, Eng is actively studying the mechanics of the exploit.
You watch how it moves. You see which plants it prefers over others. You understand its timing.
Exactly. You study its haustoria. You observe how it responds to different environmental stressors. This isn't just about tolerating a weed. It is about gathering intelligence.
Right.
It represents a fundamental drive to understand the logic of the systems around us, even the destructive ones. The natural world is incredibly complex, and not all of it is cooperative.
Clearly not.
By studying the parasite, Am gains a deeper understanding of the entire garden's ecosystem, its vulnerabilities, and its resilience.
It turns a loss into a data point.
Yeah.
If you understand how the Dodder operates, you become a much more sophisticated manager of your own environment.
Knowledge is the only sustainable defense against invisible threats.
That's a great point.
Because fear and eradication only work until the next, slightly different hitchhiker arrives on a different nursery plant. Observation built a framework for true systemic resilience.
So let's pull all these threads together. We started with the deceptive visual of a yellow vine covered in delicate white bellflowers.
The Trojan horse.
Right. And we unmasked it, realizing that its lack of green meant it had completely abandoned photosynthesis, opting instead for a strategy of brutal metabolic efficiency.
We examined the localized chemical warfare of its haustoria-dissolving cell walls to tap directly into the host's vascular plumbing.
Like a hacker bypassing a firewall.
Exactly.
And we traced how these specialized biological hackers cross our perimeters by hitchhiking on the massive, hyper-optimized supply chains of modern commerce.
All of this leading to Eng's decision to study the breach rather than just blindly burning it down.
It's an incredible look at the intersection of biology, systems management, and human curiosity. It really emphasizes that the environments we manage are never as simple or as isolated as they appear on the surface.
Never. There's always a hidden layer.
Which leaves us with a truly chilling final thought. A biological mystery for you to mull over long after this deep dive ends.
Okay, let's hear it.
We talked about how the haustoria physically and chemically breach the host to fuse with the xylem and phloem. They create a direct internal bridge between two entirely different organisms so the parasite can steal water and carbohydrates.
A literal merging of internal plumbing.
Right. But we know that a plant's vascular system carries more than just food. It carries internal chemical signals. It carries stress hormones.
Oh, wow.
So if this deep physical bridge exists, does that mean the host and the parasite are unknowingly sharing data? If the host plant is attacked by an insect and sends out a chemical stress flare through its veins, is the Dodder intercepting that signal?
Wait, so does the parasite know the host is under attack before the host's own leaves do?
Exactly. Think about the implications. If their systems are fully linked, could the golden strangler actually be pushing its own chemical signals back into the host?
Reversing the flow of information.
Yes. Could it be using that connection to chemically manipulate the host into diverting even more resources to the invasion site?
That is mind-blowing.
The line between the victim and the invader might not just be physically blurred. It might be chemically non-existent.
That is a staggering mystery about just how deep a systemic hijack can go.
It really is. Think about that the next time you see a beautiful, unexpected vine winding its way through your life.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes open, stay intensely curious, and, maybe keep a little bit of that observational mindset ready for whatever invisible hitchhiker crosses your perimeter next.